joined us from, I guess, mainly U of H. So thanks for that. We are always looking to work with students and attract them to our programs and hopefully get them involved in mentorship events and so on. So anyway, it's IITAGH really has three basic pillars, which is connect, develop, and give back to the community. So I'm not going to go through all that, but events of this nature are something that we try to organize on a ongoing basis. My goal is to maybe have 6 events a year at least. So this is our kickoff event for 2019. Anyway, I have some sad news. One of our dear friends and colleagues, Kush Tandon, suddenly passed away on Jan 31st. It was very shocking for us. He was relatively young and seemingly in good health. So this came as a real shock to us. He was a friend of IITAGH. He attended several of these sort of events. Certainly one of the key people in the 2013 Pan IIT event, helped out with publicity, social media, and so on. So, a tragic loss at such a young age. And there's going to be a celebration of life event on February 16th at India House between 2 and 5. And we will be sending out an invite to all of our IITAGH community, but I just wanted to announce it here. If people want to attend that event, we will be requesting you to sign up through the invite. So anyway, I'd like to take a moment of silence to provide our respect to Kush. Thank you. May his soul rest in peace. So our speaker today is none other than Partha, a great friend of ours, tireless contributor to IITAGH, and one of the key organizers of the 2013 Pan IIT event. It would be fair to say that the event would not have been successful without people like Partha. He gave a lot of his time and effort, along with several others, to make that a success. He recently received the Distinguished Services Award from his alma mater, IIT Kharagpur, and that is indeed a very high honor. So congratulations, Partha. He's a true champion of IIT Kharagpur. He's there for, kind of waving their flag every opportunity that he gets, which is fantastic. He's a very prominent public figure in our Houston community and does a lot of work at the Durga Bari temple here. So he's a real pillar of Houston, prominent member. So I'm glad to have him speak to us. A little bit on Partha. He's a leading energy trading and risk technology person for Shell. He's in the Program Directorate at Shell Trading Supply for global LNG and gas trading. Previously, he was part of market-facing strategy for product management at OpenLink Financial, the global leader for financial products and technology. And before that, he was managing director at Capco Solutions, formerly SunGuard Consulting Services. So Partha has held technology leadership positions at many other companies, including Schlumberger, El Paso, Accenture, Sapient, and others. He holds a bachelor's degree from IIT Kharagpur in computer science and engineering, as well as a master's degree in computer science from University of Southern Carolina, and an MBA from Texas A&M University. He lives in Houston, enjoys sports and music with his wife Arpita and children Ishan and Trisha. So, with no further ado, Partha.
Thank you, Abhijit, for the kind introduction, and it's always a pleasure to be part of IITAGH and part of the event. So thanks all of you for coming. You could be doing so many different things, but you decided to come here, so I appreciate it. And this is the first of our 2019 talks, so I appreciate that. The focus of the talk is disruptive technologies for energy markets. And I'm going to talk about technologies, but I'm also going to talk about the challenges facing energy and markets, financial markets, and how technology can be leveraged to address those issues. So the next one, this is a standard disclaimer. What I'm presenting is nothing to do with Shell. Do not assume in any shape or form that what I'm talking about is related to Shell. It's truly, I'm talking about from my experience in this space and not just specific to Shell. Thank you. The agenda, I wanted to do an introduction of what I'm talking about, then focus on data, focus on analytics and intelligence, kind of related to data, cloud and cyber security, kind of talking about the storage, and how, and then talk about the emerging technology which is coming. I can, if time permits, I will go into at least one technology, which is blockchain, a little more detail. Otherwise, I will take questions. One time in the 80s, people could not dream that you did not have to remember commands, did not have to type in prompt lines, and you can actually drag and drop and click on menus and drive command. How many of you started programming in the 80s? You had dictionaries and white paper hanging, notes hanging with commands. Now you don't remember commands. It's intuitive. Steve Jobs thought about music storage and music player can merge. That's disruptive. Before that, you could never think that the disc player and the disc can be merged. It happened. That's disruptive. I came to this country on a NASA scholarship in '87. Fresh graduate from IIT Kharagpur in computer science. There was a talk on computer vision. There's this really weird, mysterious area of shape recognition coming up. NASA wanted people to work on shape recognition. I came to this country on scholarship. Now you have a different problem 30 years later. The problem is when you load a picture in Facebook, whether you want to tag it or not, they tag the picture. There has been a fundamental disruption of image recognition. So that is what is disrupt. you found but the key to all of this is not to be focused on the technology, but to focus on the problem. Steve Jobs was not a geek. He was not a guy who could, solve all of the technical problems, but he could understand the business problem. Generally, they could understand that there was a need for human beings to have personal emails, and Hotmail came about. So let's move to the next slide. This is Einstein talking about it. Today's discussion would be technology, but also would touch on humanity. One of the most intriguing discussions of our last century, closing to 100 years, is the discussion between Rabindranath Tagore and Einstein. How many of you know that? Have read it? Fundamental. He did not know, Einstein did not know that there was a possibility of unification of forces. He just believed this universe, God, and there must be some unification. So he's saying, if I had a problem to solve if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes on the solution. Please take it to your heart. And I will give you 3 things before I go to the, can we go to the next one? Yeah. Before I go into the digital trends, I wanted to give you 3 things which have fundamentally changed. One is the processing power of computers. It has fundamentally become so fast, you cannot, it's rarely there can be problems which need more processing power. So don't try to think of a problem which needs more. There's quantum computing coming up which will solve teraflops in microseconds. Okay, so processing power is humongous. Data storage has become very cheap. And third, and the most important thing which has happened in the business domain and in technology is 20 years back, if anyone asked your wife's name, if anyone asked your birthday, you would be thinking that guy is probably some CBI or FBI agent trying to get your details. Now you not only put your wife's name, your wife's school, your wife's color, your birth date, which college she has gone to, everything on the internet. The data is available. The data is a reflection of your being. So we can store data, we can process data, and people are sharing data. That's like utopia. So now the problem is not about technology, not about trying to find whether I will get that data. Remember those things, oh, I have to gather this data, you have to go to the library, find that book. The data is available. You have to just think of what the problem is. Think about the problem. Think about the way to help and solve people's needs. And there is technology available, data available to do that. Are we on the same page now? All right. So there's a lot of digital transformation trends which have come up, and Pratish, I shared the presentation, and Pratish gave a good feedback. He said, Partha, why don't you talk about, what if you don't do disruption? And true. If you look at the left, there's data foundation, digital systems, open digital ecosystems. All these are growing, and digital change agents, workers and leaders are going to be needing this data, interacting with these systems and deriving results out of it. It is not a choice. If you don't do it, someone else will do it. If you don't mine the data and find out how many people are using electricity between 6 and 6:30 in Houston, you will be paying a lot more money to buy power. You will not be able to give the best power prices to your users. You will not be able to get the power to those users. So it's not it's not a choice. You'll be left behind. I can give you so many, just a quick question in terms of pictures and iPhones and digital cameras. Actually, one, I don't know how many of you know, the digital camera was designed by an IITian. He came and spoke at our IIT 2013, Vedobroto Pai. Now the only unlucky thing is he worked for NASA and the Jet Propulsion Lab, so most of the money was with Jet Propulsion Lab. Otherwise, he'll be multi-trillionaire and probably everyone can go to IIT for free. Okay, so what I'm saying is Kodak has disappeared as a company. So you don't have a choice if you don't. If you don't, I am using the word disruption, but you have to predict disruption. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. Can you go to the next one? So this this is a slide I normally present in energy trading domains and stuff. Energy trading, which is commodities trading, and it's very complex in the sense it has not only ups and downs on the commodity prices, it has demand and supply of human beings all over the world, what they need for different energy. So there's a whole slew of things we do. We execute trades, we confirm trades, and we are trading, with the Reliance of the world, with Gales of the world. We are taking commodity from the shale oil here, putting it into LNG, and then putting it into ships going all over the world, coming through Australia and then back. There's tremendous amount of logistics driven by demand and supply. The settlement and logistics, there's invoicing and payment. The payments are being done with GST applied in India, Middle East tax in Middle East, tax here in Louisiana. So there's a lot of complexity which can be controlled if you do some of the stuff which I'm going to talk about, including blockchain, including finding out which payments need to be made when. Can you tie it with some payments which are related? A lot of complexity. I don't want to get into too much of these details. Regulatory compliance. Right now, please understand, people used to pay, even we pay tax once a year. Companies pay tax every day, every microsecond, every second, all over the world. Okay? So, and that needs to be reported. One of the things which is coming up with all the fraud and different things which are happening, governments are being forced to have much more hard compliance. And compliance is driven by data. It is not an option to gather your tax return after 2 months or 3 months and then submit to the government. You probably, it's better because of the volume of information which is going on that you compute all this every day. And customer relationships and analytics, I can go into, I don't want to spend too much time, but it is gold mine. You can determine with IoTs and other things, you can mine so much of information that when something is running out, milk is running out, or the fridge needs to be changed, or the car is running out of gas. Most of the cars now, the moment it is running out of gas, it pops up. The screen says, "Hey, do you want me to search for gas stations around your location?" Things like this. So all that data can be mined by the company which needs to drive its logistics and stuff. So all these challenges involve data processing and then decision making based on that. Data is the new currency of the digital economy. Just one thing, if you have questions, because I have some of the material, if you can hang on to the end, but if something is really bothering, please obviously raise your hand. But, I want to cover. It represents the currency of the digital economy. it gives real insight of what has happened. Data is powerful. It can burst myth. It provides visibility to your users, your markets, who is using what type of gas at what time, and when should the truck go there and deliver the gas. All these are very important things. Even from your personal things, it's very easy. I'm working on my side with a doctor who wants to, set up information. It's extremely easy to set up information like, given your blood results, what you should eat, find out when is your, anniversary date and birth date, and, which restaurants and which menus you can order. These are very important. So now think about if your doctor does that, you will love it. Now, how many of you, and I still don't have it, but I know of one friend who has it. A lot of the fridges are coming in with, internet connection. They are connecting to the internet. Any of you here are geek enough to have a fridge? I know one guy who has a fridge with internet connection.
We're too cheap.
So with RFID, you can figure out when the milk is running out. It can look up your profile and order that milk. Data is powerful, and data is available. Right relevant data along with right algorithms is really powerful. The key is right algorithms, and I will hit it during the analytics and intelligence piece, AI piece. One thing, just understand, there are simple things which can be experts and people who can interpret the experts' expertise and put it into rules. So don't think experts are going away. Computers are not experts. Experts, humans are experts. We need not only those experts, we need the translation of that expertise into computer rules so that we can provide benefits. So don't think everything is getting automated so there will not be jobs. People who had bullock carts to go from Calcutta to Puri probably thought, man, how many jobs will be gone when there's a train, right? We don't think about there are new jobs which come up, right? So the challenge is to understand what is the business need and find the jobs which will address that. So data pyramid, this is a very important thing, which I again included something today, is that this is this is called DIKW. There's data, which is any Tom, Dick, Harry, any information, any data, and then pertinent information, then knowledge, and then wisdom. Wisdom is a little more fuzzy, expertise level information. One of the key things I wanted to give an example here is what I was going to refer. Let's take up many of you. How many of you were in geology, upstream, drilling? How many of you? I thought many more. Okay, all right. So give you an example. Geologists, you guys look at a lot of data and decide whether to drill holes or not, right? A human being can look at, say, you can look at 100 Excel spreadsheets. Say your capacity as a human being is to look at 100 Excel spreadsheets in a month. And you are now constrained by 100 Excel spreadsheets and some rules. What computers can do for you, it can look at 1 billion Excel spreadsheets, different types of data, apply your business rules, your expertise, and give you the top 10 to look at. So you are much more efficient. You are looking at the most relevant cases and spending much more time. Your time is being used in a much better way. You are not, there are so many things which are so easy. Why I'm looking at this? This is a dud. No point drilling. Computer can easily eliminate that. You don't need to spend that. So you are, instead of looking at 100 spreadsheets, you will be looking at 10 well-arranged not spreadsheets, some drilling data which can be drilled into. So you become much more efficient. your data gets purified with business rules, up this pyramid. This is a key piece to understand how we extract value from the data and why we need experts to give us the business rules. It will not solve, we don't need to eliminate human beings. We just need to challenge them to do harder and harder things. Now, very few of you do math and do ledger calculation of 20 plus 30 and 50 and all that. All that is done. End of the month, how much tax you have to pay and all that in your company by computers. But you have other things to do. Right? So that's what's going to happen. Thanks. This is where I wanted to go into a little bit. This buzzword, machine learning, AI. I first, as if you don't use, and this is one of the things I want all of you to understand, because some of you don't get driven by buzzwords. First, do the easy things. There's some really simple things which can be done. Machine learning is not needed for every problem in the world. What is needed is analyze the data to determine relevance and applicability. Partner with the domain experts. Couple of you, I met a couple of you who are retiring. You have years of experience in upstream. You have hunch, you have hard and fast rules. Give priorities to those rules, to your expert, hunch. Even hunch is a value. I think this is true. We can code that. We can put that in a proper, analytical rule. So the key is to partner with domain experts, build algorithms to implement the rules. Basically, human intelligence is being coded and we call it artificial intelligence. Constantly learn to improve the rules. And this is one of the things which is in machine learning. But you don't have to do ML. You can do some simple stuff. We used to do that in trading. After we traded and we found that we lost money on a gas deal, why? We look back. We thought the gas price will be $5, but it actually became $4, and I had an option for 4.5 and it went under the water. Other way around. So the key there is to know there are some simple rules you can code. You can do regression analysis. Now, if those regression analysis can be coded into a machine learning, meaning anytime it fires, it looks back in history and sees why it did not give the right results, you should do that. But not all of this needs to be coded into ML. There are a lot of other ways you can look at the data and find out where was the regression, where was the difference between what you predicted and what actually happened. And you can fine tune the rules. And I'm telling you, in a lot of the cases, the experts would say, I forgot to tell you. This was another rule which was in my head. You know why he forgot to tell you? Because that rule was very, very implicit to him. He has done so many years that he knows that is a rule. Only computer doesn't know. So you have to code that rule. So most of the cases, you don't need a machine learning. You have to sit down with the, in some of these cases, sit down with the expert and find why the data is not matching. Again, what I'm trying to include here is don't be blown away with buzzwords, but take small steps and see what you need to do to actually implement the rules in a computer. Decide why the rules did not give you the desired result. Either the data was wrong or the rule needed a little more fine-tuning. And if you are confident, then you do this look back and put it into a machine learning algorithms and other complex algorithms. But you don't have to do all of that in one step. All right? The cloud and cyber security. One of the things I often hear when I was in consulting, we are very careful about the data. We can't put it in the cloud. Guys, please understand that almost all your data is in the cloud. IRS data is in the cloud. Your citizenship data is in the cloud. So depends on how you define it. There's private cloud, public cloud. There are different types of encryption needed. Also, and these are, I won't get into this, you need experts for this. What I am trying to tell you, as a business person, you should know there are multiple different levels of security available. You have to just choose what is there. I will give you an example. Okay? How many people remember when the hurricane hit Houston, there was only one house which was standing. The dude spent millions of dollars to build the house, right? Now you have to decide whether you will spend $10 million to build a house or 500,000 and build a house, and if the house is blown away, you spend another 500,000. It's your decision. Or you can, so depends on what sort of security you want, and there are different levels of security needed. Now one thing I'm just telling you, I don't know how many of you know this, with this cyber currency and stuff, some of this security is so, they are off the network. It needs the private key, that if the person, for heaven's sake, forgets that password, there's no way to retrieve. I don't know how many of you know 150 or $60 million is unclaimed, and they cannot recover the money because a young guy, 29 or 30-year-old guy, died all of a sudden.
In India.
Who's in India? Oh, okay, I didn't know. Yeah, Jaipur. So this guy, so there are people who are stuck. There are companies which are going bankrupt because of this. So just just as a technologist to a business guy, is that depending on how hard you want your house to be built, we can build the house from the technology end. You guys decide what you are comfortable with. So this myth, cloud is not secure, cyber, most of the time, all these things are broken because someone violated, a human being made an error. They gave a password to someone, or their, all sorts of things have happened. It's not because the computer suddenly failed. And you can do, OTP, and then there are 2-3 different types of security. You can do all this. So don't just, so in this slide, I didn't want to get into the specifics of cryptography. Actually, some of the cryptographic logic, as I don't know how many of you know Bhaskar Gupta. You should go, Partha Chatterjee, one of the Indian ancient Vedic math guy. Some of his equations and all are being used in cryptography. I was blown away at a conference. But the point to note, technology is available to protect your data. Don't say, it's like those guys who live in a bunker because a hurricane is going to come, so the entire life they want to live in the bunker. Data is pretty secure. You have to find the right level of security. Don't get unnecessarily worried about this. Next. Before that. Yeah, the next one. So I wanted to stop here. I will go into blockchain into more details, but before I I will introduce blockchain, and then depending on what you want to do, I can go into much more details about blockchain, because this is the technology I pick. Blockchain is a very interesting concept. As you know, blockchain brings a level of security and trust in your transaction, and I'll give you an example. It increases performance and speed, it decreases cost, and it really helps global organizations to make faster decisions, faster actions, reduces cost. And I will give you an example. You want to buy a house, someone has to validate your credit, has to validate the house, that all the titles are in place. Some broker comes in, you go to the what's that called, title company which matches all this. All that can be replaced by blockchain. Actually, some of the Indian states are trying to do this. Now there is a problem because some guys don't want to be inserted into the blockchain. That's a different problem. But you can do all this. That all your title records, all your credit worthiness, all can be put into tokens in a blockchain. So blockchain is nothing but a snapshot of transactions and statuses in one time. It is a digital record. It is secure. It is decentralized. What does it mean by decentralized? It means, see, when you go to your title company is the broker and is saying, I trust it. You implicitly trust that one guy. That's centralized. If that guy is lying, you have a different problem. In a blockchain, and I kind of gave a very weird example, but in some ways, you're an Indian crowd, and so I wanted to give a crowd. It's like a Sayamvara. You know who got married to whom in front of everyone, and you pick, you pick your wife or pick the transaction. Your groom. Yes, pick your groom, and it's everyone is trusting your choice and is there to see your choice. You are not hiding somewhere and picking your bride. In this blockchain concept, everyone in that chain is agreeing to it. There is an advantage to it. Let me explain. When you sell an apartment in India, there is this value of 2 crores, but I will pay, but it's officially valued at 1 crore. 1 crore I will pay you in black. The second guy does not know how much you paid. Your bank doesn't know how much you paid. The other guy doesn't know how you got this money. That thing is, it is 2 crores. It was valued at 1.8 crore. You paid 2 crores. You paid 20 lakhs extra. All that is out in the open. Everyone knows it. It's part of the same transaction business. It's same network of transactions. I will go to the next thing. It's an immutable, tamper-proof shared ledger of state changes of a digital asset. Meaning, at this point, this was the valuation, this was the tax, this is how you got the money. And very interesting, when you paid this to, say, a guy who has 10 apartments, when he goes to file his taxes, all these will be shown as separate transactions. And it will be tied to a plus and minus to his bank account. So all these things are tied together. It reduces, you don't have to get authorization, you don't have to get validity, all this is instantaneous. Now it reduces the commissions and stuff which goes there. It reduces also the corruption. And for a global organization, it has tremendous value, because even though it is a global organization, it has local impacts, GST calculation to be paid to this tax office in India, and then this Middle East tax in Dubai. All this are individual transactions which are tied together. It is not a set of disparate transactions with individual middlemen in each of these transactions. Yeah.
Is this Indian bureaucratic proof?
So I can never say it is Jugaad proof. So that's beyond my, I'm not going to, but I think this is a step in the right direction, Malik. And there are companies which are doing it. Not companies, organizations like, I forget the name. I think one is Manipur or Mizoram. One of them have put it online and stuff. So this is happening at least in
the digital world.
Right.
So the question is, can you use blockchain, to say, okay, how would a blockchain authenticate the picture? So when I'm looking at a picture there, it says, yep, that's an authentic picture because it has some blockchain validation.
So this is a perfect thing.
I just want to add one more thing, and the fake news that goes with all this.
Yeah. So blockchain is not solving this fake news. What a blockchain would do, that's why it is extremely important. See, your question, and I totally understand your question. Your question implicitly assumes the current way of thinking, which is there is a title, there is a picture. What will happen? There is no picture. There will be a data record with your house address, with your, who was the two counterparties involved, and this, and it is a transaction record in this chain of record. So there is no picture. It is, and your validation is not by a picture. Your validation will be through a function call, or on your screen, you will put your address, and it will your address like you do in HCAD. Have you guys seen the tax?
Yeah.
I don't keep my the valuation of your house and then that tax receipt because it's available in HCAD. So what was answering your question? Picture will not be considered as a proof. You go to and I saw this happening actually. I will tell you this. I saw this happening this time. I was in an Uber. So let me answer your question. Picture will not be considered a valid proof. You will go to you will say, oh, I have owned this house. The guy will punch in your house number into the database which is connected to the blockchain and say, oh, you have paid your taxes and you are okay. This was your lien and you are good. You can't wait. And I saw this with my eyes. I was driving in an Uber. I don't know how many of you in Calcutta this time in December, there was a major push to get all the fees being paid, meaning all the like the parking fees and stuff like that. And they're stopping you on the road and they have have you seen this? They're punching in your license number and getting clearance that you have paid your taxes. And that blew me. So, answering your question, they are not asking for the receipt. The guy is showing, oh, I went to the, yesterday I went to the court and the guy said, sir, aapka number bata. Oh, he is trying to show all these papers, he said, aapka number bata. Give the number, he puts it into typing and he says it's so blockchain, what will happen? It will be a website and you will connect there and get the information. So it will look up in your transaction records and give you this information.
So my question is, when I look at a newspaper,
So
and I look at an
fake
article
news
there,
is not blockchain.
yeah, and look at a picture.
The things how it gets verified is by consensus.
Correct.
Okay, so you have a picture. 5 people, if they say it's a valid picture, it's a valid picture. If one of them says, that is another, I'm sure you're
Right.
going to go there.
Right.
If one of them says, no, it's not,
Right.
then it's
Go
not.
to the next one.
So it's no one person or this
Yeah.
person can, it's a consensus. Any record has to be validated by a consensus. I'm sure you're going to go.
Yeah, number 6. So,
Consensus.
yeah, so everyone, and that's why I give the example of Swambara, but probably it didn't fly. Is that everyone present there validates that this happened. So you have to bribe a lot of people to everyone to validate that this happened, right? So what happens? There is a transaction. Each node collects all the transactions, then verifies the transactions connected to that node. Since there is no central authority, for a certain time interval, a node is selected to propose the final list of the transactions connected to that node. And then it broadcasts that, oh, I'm the broker, I have received payment from 5 of these guys on taxes. Is this correct? So he broadcasts this message. Everyone would, you have to agree to it or implicitly agree. If you don't agree, you have to raise your hand. You know why? Because if the number is not matching with your number, then in the next step, the government is going to ask you for that tax payment because you did not say, hey, I only got 1.8 crore and not 2 crores. You better say that in this transaction, because the next transaction they will assume you said it was 2 crores, so you have to pay taxes on 2 crores. But this is not going to. So this where this advantage is going to happen is, do you guys see number of middlemen and all these agents will go down tremendously? Do you see this value? Yeah.
2 questions. One, do you know whether this is used for GST in India?
So this is a good question. GST is a separate. I'm kind of familiar with GST because we had to trade with India. GST. So GST is a calculation based on right now it is not in blockchain. But what I am hearing that there will be the corporate taxes would be put in a blockchain, but individual transactions. So answering your individual transactions would still not be in the blockchain, at least to start with.
The way that you are explaining, that would be a correct one, because you would know from whom to whom,
correct.
whom to goes there.
So the reason this is not going right now in all the individual transactions are going in blockchain, what will happen? There will be some aggregation. So I will give you an example. Actually, say this guy, if there was another network like this guy is selling to another network like this. If those guys are not on the blockchain because they are individual small guys, this guy has to collect all the money and report it to the government. Okay, so the government has to implicitly assume one starting point in the network. In this case, here, the starting point might be that today he made $500 and that's the starting point of the transaction, rather than individual 50 people paying $10.
Okay, is this being used for trading?
Yes.
Is this
already again, this is now getting into the areas. So one of the biggest trouble, and there's some issues with blockchain. One of the issues, and I don't know, Dhruva, or some of you know, there's some concept called protocol, and you guys have heard Ethereum is one, and Ripple, and all these are different protocols. One of the things we are trying to do is to agree on a protocol. So what is happening in the energy trading space, some of the big companies are getting together and creating a consortium and have a standard protocol. So what people are thinking, if the big companies get in together on some in this consortium, they will not save all their cost, but 80% of the transactions are with the big oil companies, and they will save money and timing on the 80% of the transactions. Did I answer your question? It's not. So you have to assume blockchain is not like an ocean where everyone, every drop in the ocean is all connected. So what's going to happen now? It will start somewhere and then slowly grow.
Especially by the time the cargo reaches, that might have changed that.
Oh,
many times.
Yes.
This would have been a
so cargo. So answering your question, cargo would be part of blockchain. That is for sure. What will not be probably part of blockchain, I wanted to give you a specific, and you know this already. Say the trucks going to individual gas stations probably would not be in the starting blockchain. But the big, the gas or the cargo coming into the refinery will be part of the blockchain.
When you buy and sell crude oil,
Right.
it changes the hands so many times.
So that will be part of blockchain. Every one of them.
Will be, or is it already?
No, it's not already. None of this. The main reason it is not already is because we still don't have an established consortium and established protocol. But but one thing everyone agrees, this will tremendously reduce cost and increase speed of operation.
Industry is coming up with a
Correct. The protocol.
I'm going to be a moderator here.
Yeah. So I have 5 minutes.
Let Partha go through his talk, and then
Correct.
I'll moderate the questions so that we're not having one-on-one conversation.
Right. So I skipped a couple of things. I wanted to take questions because I know I have not. All this will be, I know in the trading space, will be handled by blockchain. You will be able to execute trades instantaneously, meaning you don't have to go to exchange separately. It will be all part of the blockchain. You don't have to, have individual Bloomberg and other terminals. You will be able to execute them. You will be able to confirm trades instantaneously. People who are in trading probably know this. Once you execute the trade, there is a process in ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, where and other exchanges where you have to say, oh, I have bought 100 barrels. You agree it was 100 barrels and not 98 barrels. All that confirmation will be done instantaneously. Price and volumes become part of the blockchain. Payments will be made directly because settlement will have an now, one thing, when I say settlement, since you asked the ship question and all, as you know, with crude oil and others, there is loss while transporting and stuff. So all that has to be settled, and then the moment it is settled, payment will happen. Taxes are addressed because you know the exact amount, the exact price, the exact money which changed hands, and regulatory compliance inherently built in. That is tremendous advantage because you don't have to calculate taxes after the fact or report taxes after the fact. It will be immediately, the regulatory authorities will be part of the blockchain and will get the transactions every day. So this is significant advantage. I'll go to the next one. I wanted to address this. This is different than the energy, core energy, oil and gas. This is power is going to change tremendously. And I can probably spend 4 or 5 hours on this. Couple of things which is going to happen. It's not happening now, but I'm sure you have friends in California who are doing it. Almost every one of you will become an energy producer. If you will have a solar panel, there will be microgrids. Companies will make differential prices will be crazy. You consume power, so people will produce their own electricity and subscribe to this blockchain of power being produced, power being consumed. Some of your excess power will be put into the grid and others can consume it. You will form user associations. So for example, you and your friend in the north can do a deal separate from a utility company where they say, okay, all my excess power will go to you and you have a backup in case my power is not enough for you. Then you take it from your utility company. There will be smart contracts which will calculate how much power you're consuming every minute, every second, and apply prices. Prices will be driven by open markets. The biggest thing which will happen is that the big utilities will be competing with you. You can become a producer. You can provide electricity in the grids. And I'm telling you, some of the, if US really does go into electric vehicles and all that, guys, I'm being serious. The solar panels and stuff which will be required is tremendous. The amount, one of the things we are seeing that the electricity consumption and the power consumption needed in the cars are also going to increase because a lot of things will be happening in the cars. Okay, so power is going to be a big area where blockchain will be used because it will not be possible. Power gets consumed. One of the biggest things, all of you are in science, power cannot be, is the only energy which cannot be stored. I mean, at a high level, there are capacitors and all the other stuff. So that's where blockchain is perfect to tie up your production with consumption and with prices and all that. So this space of renewables, power, electric cars is going to change tremendously. There are some talks that your car will have solar panels all around and will produce electricity while it is being driven, and it will stop at at lights and produce, and can upload electricity to the grid if you need. Some crazy things are happening. That level of transaction details can only be done by doing blockchain. Okay, track the third bullet. Sorry, track electricity generating assets. If you look at the line, you think these are all power plants, right? No. Your home is an electric generating asset. Your car will be an electric generating asset. And that's why the number of assets you have to track is unbelievable. And that's why you need blockchain. I have gone through build trust, increase efficiency, increase compliance, we talked about it, transparency and analytics. I don't know how many of you know, this is a completely, I can spend hours on this. Transparency was a huge problem with the whole energy trading, Enron and other debacle. You could do crazy stuff because commodity, you can lose your shirt. There are people who are electrical engineers who are trading on behalf of CalISO against people who are the top-notch commodities traders sitting here in Houston. People were losing their shirt. So the transparency on the marketplace is going to be very important. Commodities are going to be tracked all over the world. It is, how the oil is, the shale gas is explored here, put into, every carbon molecule can be tracked. Put into a ship, he was saying, drop off in Dubai, in India, in Bombay, goes into the Reliant pipeline, all these things can be tracked. Leverage the, this is what I kind of, this is a little bit again on the humanity end. I think, as I told you, technology is far ahead right now. Don't worry about technology. And even, some of you are young graduates, some of you, your kids will, my kid is in college, Pradesh, a lot of your kids are in college. We need people who have both left and right brains. The problem right now is people just focus. I don't need in my team a guy who can write the most complex algorithms. I need a guy who can sit down with an Avijit Gadgil on geology, understand his problem and see in this huge arsenal of technology, what can I pick to solve this? Technology is already there. So I need people who are graduating with left and right brain, who can understand the problem and pick the right technology. I don't need out and out technologies. We need that. But the biggest problem right now is people who will capture and understand the problem and apply the right technology. And I address this to all of you guys who are graduating, all of you guys whose kids are graduating. I need, some weird stuff, and I'll give you some examples on technology. This combination of humanity and, the softer skills with tech skills. And I'll give you we need people with art skills and music skills to design equipment, the iPhone, the iPads, the car panel, the thing. So that, remember my first statement, you don't want your old grandmother to see, okay, what did he do last time? Everything should be intuitive. And you need people who are not technologists, who has that intuition, has that softer skill. I need, we need, technology will develop with this. Technology will also, we need people in the blockchain world, in other world, some of these issues which have come up, the question, can you eradicate corruption? It's not a technology problem. It's a chess game, brilliance problem, smarts problem. Understand the problem, okay, what are the loopholes, how can I solve it? How to match records with another record is easy. Yes, there are problems right now in blockchain. If everything goes into blockchain, there is a problem that there will be a traffic jam or something. Yes, that needs to be solved. But we need people who will understand the business side of thing and apply the technology. So that's the biggest thing you should take. And you know, Einstein talked about it, Steve Jobs talked about it. All of you guys, you know, think about the business problem and apply the right technology. Thank you, and I will now take questions and
First thing is, thank you, Partha. I mean, you can see the passion that he has on everything, but certainly on this subject. So, thanks a lot for that. As you know, dinner is.
Yeah, I'm standing between dinner.
Yeah, you're certainly standing between dinner and this lovely crowd. But I think we should entertain a few questions. I will attempt to moderate. So let me go there.
Hey Partha, can you talk about the weaknesses in the system here, at least just for the blockchain in the sense, what can actually make it not work?
Yeah.
And once it breaks, what are the options for the people involved in the transaction?
Yeah. So this is very deep question and a thing which keeps me up, you know, and other people up on it. So I will just give you the bullet points right now, and we can talk deep. The one thing is processing power. This is one thing where I am really worried if everything goes into blockchain. Like I am, you know, that's why I was answering him. I don't want the pan and biri wala to be on the blockchain, right? So we have to. One is the you know, the traffic jam and the processing power. I think people are saying quantum computing will solve it. That is one thing. Second, which really worries me, is, you know, the uniformity of the protocol. I think there are some problems there on the technology side, is that people have to slowly, you know, come into, you know, whether it's Ethereum or Ripple or something else, you know, we need to converge. We can't be having, you know, 20 different protocols. It will create a lot of problems on that. Again, a technology piece. The third is, I think I am okay, and I hope others are okay. Let's take small steps. Say if India does not sign up. Actually, India is doing pretty good in terms of blockchain. They are thinking about some of this. There are other in Scandinavian. I am okay. If it is implemented in one region, I am okay with that. Let's start with that, and then we grow. Okay? And let's address the problem at a lower level, right? Which is, you know, let's go out in the market and then see the problem. And so one of the things we will need is to, okay, this sub problem is okay for blockchain. This one we try to do it, but have a backup. If it fails, this is how it will be manually overridden. And I think there has to be some more thought in that area. You understand? Otherwise, you will take a huge bite and it will, you know, fall. So the applicability angle is one thing I'm a bit worried about, and I hope people take small steps and not big steps. Okay. Yeah.
Partha, I mean, I don't know if this is connected, but how is this blockchain related to cryptocurrency and bitcoins and
oh,
stuff?
it's highly involved. So first of all, this discussion is a purely, you know, technical discussion. It's not, you know, invest in cryptocurrency or anything like that. But cryptocurrency is based on protocols like blockchain, right? So what they are doing, they have all these digital wallets where the money is being kept virtually. So this is kind of, so remember the title, the picture, Anand's example, the title and the picture and all is gone away. Your rupees and credit card has gone away. It has become a digital wallet, and the key and cryptocurrency, it has replaced money and checks and the bank.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yeah.
I've been reading about this stuff, and now apparently the government of India was interested in cryptocurrency,
Yes.
but they're now trying to get out of it or something. And there are all these governments all over the world who are in it and out of it.
And this is the problem. This is the third point I was saying is this uniformity of protocol and cryptocurrency, right? So I think that is one thing which will be is that, and India can say, I will just do Ethereum and this is my currency, and why is it a problem? And that's one thing I don't understand. If I can have US dollars and someone can have rupees, why can't India have its own cryptocurrency? I mean, what is the problem with a rate? I mean, that is the other thing. I don't want everyone to sign up to the same currency. Yes, it can work, but it's okay if we have our own currency with a proper exchange rate and stuff. That's okay to do that. So, answering your question, blockchain is the protocol and the technology underneath cryptocurrency. Yeah.
We had a question back there with the students.
I had a question that, so one of the problems that I've seen with data-driven decisions at your fetch before IITAGH is that it is susceptible to the bias of the user.
Oh,
so how is industry take care of the credibility of those decisions?
Excellent question. Super question. This is why it is absolutely biased.
Can you just paraphrase the question?
Yeah. So he's saying that the data usage and all is based on in the bias of the users.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. If I ask Anand for his opinion or someone, Abhijit, great geologist, for his opinion, what is the right amount of data and parameters to drill a well may be different from another geologist. How do we fix this problem? It's very easy to fix this problem. We do a regression analysis and see why it is differing and apply the changes to the rules, right? And that is why I like this question. That is why if it constantly happens like this, we have to downgrade his, take that bias away, apply some ML algorithms and take that bias away. You can apply different factors to take the bias away depending on how much you are differing in your solution. So one thing I always say, any business decision driven by rules or automated processing has to be re-looked and looked back and learned. If you don't do that, you will continue to make mistakes. Unlike a human guy who feels the pressure, oh man, this guy is looking at me odd, or I am losing money. Computer has no feelings, right? So it will continue to make the wrong decision. So it is extremely important to look back and see what sort of biases are. That's why I like your question. This is an excellent question.
The young lady there.
Yeah.
Perhaps this is a bit non-technical question, but from what I can sense, some regulatory issues. How will this be regulated? If with title companies, there are laws that are regulating them. So everything is kind of in how I'm just.
Again, these are things where disruption comes into a thing, right? Previously, some of the guys you probably grew up with credit card, but some people who didn't have credit card, they had lot, but so there will be regulation which says these type of cryptocurrencies or this type of transactions will be accepted. There has to be a regulation for that. And I will give you an example. Is that previously, a lot of places only cash was accepted. Now credit card is accepted. Then we found that credit card had issues if they did not have chips. So we had to put in chips. So regulation and protection have to go hand in hand. And regulators have to change rules that it's okay not to have a title company and go through blockchain. So I totally agree. There has to be rules which need to be changed.
We have a question here.
So you said the bias. You can take away the bias.
Yeah.
If you can
iteratively.
If you can take it away.
Yeah.
What is to prevent people like Google and Facebook from inserting their owners' political bias into it?
Now that's a much deeper question. But let me just tell you, this is one problem.
Remember, Google doesn't say do no evil anymore.
This is a much deeper question, and I wish I was also there with Sundar on that thing. I was like, I had to shut down my computer because there was some. That's a much deeper question. Let me just tell you, this is driven by data. If 80 people like something and 20 people don't like something, the computer will say this is much more popular because 80 people are liking. The only way to, if you call that bias, that this movie is good because 80 people liked it and 20 people didn't like it. So by that standard, the movie is good. Now that happens all the time. Those 20 people, so that happens because, the majority of the people are liking it. That's what is driving, Facebook and others, and some of the social interaction. Now you might say, and I totally agree with that, there may be 100 people who did not like it, but who did not make their comments known. Absolutely valid point. But that's not a problem of Google or Facebook.
Or one person sat there.
Yeah, and said
10,000 times.
Now that might be Google and Facebook have to find ways of, controlling that fraud. That I will take. But please understand this. This is driven by actual data. That's why I love data. Because that's the, go to that, the problem we get into, we don't see the actual data. We see this summary and this interpretation. Go to the actual data, right? So, and Facebook and Google can't stop that. If 80 people like something and 20 people don't like something, then we will say it is a good movie.
Right.
Yeah.
The question is about, we have got a world with different countries and different economies.
Absolutely.
And these type of things that are going on here that you described look like it's more in Americas and maybe some in India. But what is happening in Europe and South America, China, and Russia? If you can briefly say in a couple of sentences, that would be good.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So a lot of things are happening, and Scandinavian countries are really up there. They have electric cars. They have started implementing a lot from blockchain. But also don't poo-poo, poor countries, right? Or African countries and stuff. They are huge usages of, cellular data and data. We have an IITian from my batch, 87, Baluna. He has set up a company which is doing kind of like Paytm and Square, doing transactions in Africa, and it's going crazy, and they are loving it. You know why? Why do you think people are loving it? No bribes and corruption involved, so they are loving it.
And they don't have a choice because they don't have ATMs in the country.
So they are loving it. He's doing so. Actually, you'll be surprised, and you know this. Paytm is not here in US. We don't have a small guy. Over there, the Bidiwala in Goa. I went to Goa. He's taking Paytm. Unbelievable here in US. US is behind actually.
For one BD.
For one BD. No, I didn't figure. There was a guy who was taking
Okay, I'm going to entertain one last question.
Yeah. Okay. I love it that it's Malik.
I think, can you discuss the IITAGH by getting your big IIT Kharagpur guy, Sundar picture sometime before the end of the year?
We have tried, and Abhijit knows that, Pratish knows that. We have a lot of the people in IIT 2030. We really tried to get Sundar. Sundar is crazily busy. Even he got the Distinguished Award also from IIT Kharagpur, and PPC, he should have gotten much earlier. PPC was getting flack from people. How come Sundar is not getting, other people are getting? Because PPC wanted Sundar to come there and get it in person. So his schedule is crazy.
It was the Para-IT conference in India about 10-15 years ago. 5 days
All right.
off, and Bill Gates spent 5 days over there because he's the biggest employer of IIT graduates in the world.
So anyway, look, thank you once again.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I wouldn't recognize Mr. Kashinath Patil
Yes.
from IIT Kharagpur, who is, pardon me if I'm wrong, but it is the batch of 54, is that right?
Wow.
55. Right. So, an absolute delight and someone who comes to our programs quite frequently. So thank you, Mr. Patil and Mrs. Patil for coming today, and it is our honor to have people like you attend our events. One request. I imagine most of you registered on the site, on the portal, but if for some reason you didn't, then if I could ask Asim and Priyanka to stand up, if you can find them, during the dinner time, I'd appreciate if you could settle with them, or at least give them your email so that we can get a hold of you. So the amount is $15 and $5 for students.
Thank you again for everyone who are coming. I really do appreciate it.